would you mind defining woke? Because it's come up a couple times and I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
So, I mean, woke is sort of the idea that this is going to be one of those moments that goes viral.
Yeah, it certainly was. Now, that was author Bethany Mandel, and she is an author of a book on wokeism titled Stolen Youth: How Radicals Are Erasing Innocence and Indoctrinating a Generation. Now, things didn't really get much better as Mandel tried to answer a pretty simple question considering she wrote a book on this. Let's watch.
Woke is something that's very hard to define, and we've spent an entire chapter defining it. It is sort of the understanding that we need to totally reimagine and redo society in order to create hierarchies of oppression. It's hard to explain in a 15-second soundbite.
Yeah, look, time.
I mean, it's one of those things that I mean, everybody is weighing in, inveighing against wokeness. We do some of it on this show as well. It's definitely something, you know what it is when you see it, but
is it wrong?
Yeah. It is.
Will you define wokeness then?
I would say it's the tendency to punish people formally or often informally for expressing ideas using language specifically that is very new, that no one would have objected to like 5 seconds ago. So it's easier to come up with examples like, punishing people for using the wrong pronouns.
RM, I feel like part of the problem is woke has just been a catch-all word for the right, meaning they use the word woke and they apply it to anything they don't like. So it means different things to different people. And when you're asked to define it, it's a little tricky when it's a catch-all phrase or a catch-all word for the right wing,
Absolutely. That clip is maybe one of the only things that's ever made me want to go to law school, the way Brianna Joy Gray did that. That was definitely some lawyer stuff there, right? Like, can you define that for me? No, we have all day. I mean,
you can take your time.
Yeah, take your time. No, go ahead. Just kind of let her keep going. I mean, it's pretty good from Brianna there. But yeah, you're right. The wokeness thing. It's not just because I've been watching videos about the banking meltdown, and that's due to wokeness. I don't know if you knew that, Anna. That's due to wokeness.
I have heard through the grapevine that some people would like to deflect from deregulation and Federal Reserve policy and instead focus on wokeness, on the diversity within the banks, as opposed to the deregulations that allow the banks to take risks with depositor money and stuff like that, Yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing because I know I say this a lot, I repeat this a lot on the show, but I do it because I want people to, regardless of what your political identity is, to see why things play out the way they do, why politicians and members of the media lean into certain arguments. It's usually to distract you from what's really going on, right? So with the whole culture war stuff, especially the crying and whining about wokeness, when it comes from politicians, when it comes from people in power, it's typically to deflect. It's typically to provide cover for the fact that they're aiding and abetting corporations and robbing you. But with that said, I also want to just note, I do see some issues with how the culture war plays out, right? And I'm specifically referring to, I think, what can be attributed to quote unquote woke policies or woke thinking. So I'll give you 2 examples. So for instance, this is a story that Cenk and I covered a few weeks ago because I thought it was such a dumb move by a high school in Culver City, California, which is in Los Angeles. To increase equity, this California high school is eliminating honors courses. So the story was about how they did an analysis and they noticed that there weren't enough Latino students enrolled in honors classes. So Culver City High just decided to scrap their honors program, meaning they did away with the opportunity for everyone. Instead of encouraging Latino students to enroll in the honors classes. Like, that makes no sense to me. Another example, I also think this is a dumb move. I'm a woman and I disagree with this. So in Connecticut, they want to increase the number of female firefighters. So they proposed a bill that could alter female firefighter test, meaning lower the standards in order to increase the number of women who will qualify to be firefighters. The proposed legislation in Connecticut would lower the physical test requirements for women to become firefighters. Currently, all candidates, regardless of gender, are required to carry a 50-pound vest during the test. Because as a firefighter, you're carrying heavy equipment and you need to be able to do that in order to carry out the job. So it's supposed to mirror the experience of wearing heavy gear and an air tank while performing firefighter duties. According to the language of the proposal, the purpose is to allow for a more diverse class of candidates. No, but I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. When it comes to essential jobs like firefighting, I don't care about like, oh, we need to have an equal number of women. No, I just want qualified people to do the job. That's it. So like everyone should take the test and people who don't pass the test can't be firefighters. It's not that difficult. This is a physical job, okay? Being able to do the job is more important than increasing the number of female firefighters, in my opinion. I don't know, what do you think, RM?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, I think a lot of this stuff, it's just, by the way, an Anna Kasparian as a firefighter would be interesting. You know, you're kind of like doing sort of a Batman thing where by night you're saving people from fires. That'd be cool. But yeah, it just feels like, look, we have examples of countries that kind of have a fairer, they have a fairer system and they have, like things like a welfare state. You guys always talk about the kind of, the Bernard Sanders countries and all that, the Nordic countries. Like we kind of know how to have a kind of fairer, people more empowered society, but it feels like instead we get these kind of little touches around the edges to make it look like we're kind of doing something. I don't know. Do you get that feeling?
Absolutely, 100%. I'm trying to think of specific examples, but I definitely do see that happening, right? And so I want everyone to be able to make good money. To me, that's power, right? I'm not into this whole notion of like, let's lower standards so everyone qualifies for things. The standards are there for specific reasons, right? There are differences between men and women, and that is like physical differences. And it's okay. It's okay to admit that. It doesn't mean that women are weaker or that men are better or vice versa. It just means that we have different strengths, different weaknesses, and that's totally fine. Okay, so, but I do feel like in lieu of a system that allows people to thrive regardless of what their background is, regardless of what their identity is. And when I say thrive, I mean financial stability, right? The idea of the American dream. If we had a system in place that ensured that people had those opportunities, I don't think we'd have these weird symptoms of let's do these little what they think are fixes around the edges, And I don't know, it leads to more frustration. I do think there's some truth to the language policing that rubs people the wrong way. I think there's a problem with white liberals telling Latinos that they need to change their entire language so it's gender neutral. They don't want it, they didn't ask for it, and you can't force it on them. So those things I think are legitimate, like those critiques are legitimate. But at the same time, let's not get it twisted. The whole woke argument, especially by people in positions of power, is used to deflect from the fact that they're screwing you, that they're helping corporate America exploit you, exploit migrant workers, exploit child labor, exploit all sorts of vulnerable people to make a buck. That is what the focus should be, but let's just keep it real. The focus is usually on all the cultural stuff on the edges because it's a nice distraction.
No, I disagree. It is wokeness. All our problems is because, actually not to, I know he's been on the show and you guys have had good debates, but Ben Shapiro did try to sort of make it sound that part of the problem, part of why the bank meltdown happened was because of one of these companies had like a Pride Month celebration.
Oh my God.
And I don't know if that was it. I'm going to just say, I'm not an economics expert or banking expert, but I'm going to say I don't think that's it.
I mean, they must have used up all of their liquidity on that Pride Month. All of that liquidity.
You should have seen these decorations. Oh my God. Yeah, they were amazing. So I think that might have been it.
Guys, it's a distraction. They just don't want to regulate the banks when we need to regulate the banks. Let's call it for what it is.
Tonight, Bud Light's controversy is still brewing. The latest fallout, 2 top marketing executives on leave, a company spokeswoman telling the Wall Street Journal. So what spurred all the backlash about beer?
Impressive carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us.
It follows a polarizing and brief brand partnership with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney during March Madness, who told her 1.8 million followers on Instagram that Bud Light sent her a can with her face on it, celebrating her first year as a woman.
Whatever team you love, I love too.
But for some fans of the brand, it was no cause to celebrate.
Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch.
The hashtag Bud Light boycott appearing online and viral TikTok showing users pouring out the beer, destroying cans, and even going as far as pretending drinking the beverage leads them to change gender. Offline, a Florida restaurant refusing to sell Bud Light, telling our affiliate they removed the drink from its menu because transgenderism is in direct opposition to their biblical faith. But as the culture wars swirled around Bud Light, memes turned into misinformation. Videos like this surfacing, purporting to show mountains of their beer being steamrolled. When really, it was a video of beer that was seized at the border being destroyed after the pandemic. And another clip circulating showing a, quote, crybabies billboard that Bud Light did not actually put up. One marketing expert says sometimes instigation is by design.
I do not believe that someone did not sit and think our primary audience is going to turn. To what degree is up in the air, but we're definitely going to get that pushback. And it feels like someone saw a value in that.
But the company trying to do some damage control, issuing a statement on April 14th saying in part, we never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people. We're in the business of bringing people together over a beer. Still, the announcement not doing much to stem outrage. That week, Bud Light sales dropping 17% compared to the year before, according to data compiled from industry group Bump Williams Consulting, who called it a, quote, notable acceleration of the sales declines. This as competitors, Coors Light and Miller Lite, simultaneously saw bumps. As Bud Light is under the microscope, both those other brands continue to support Pride initiatives.
Miller Lite believes that everyone deserves to be their authentic selves.
And it didn't take long for politicians to jump into the fray.
I'd rather be governed by we the people than woke companies. And so I think pushback is in order across the board, including with Bud Light.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis claiming corporate America is trying to change the country. And Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders now selling koozies that look like Bud Light cans but say real woman on them.
Some big companies can't tell the difference between real and fake anymore.
Companies and elected leaders trying to leverage the situation.
The algorithms on social media platforms, they favor outrage. They favor all caps, and brands and politicians are figuring it out.
Supporters of the Bud Light campaign aren't staying silent. And the White House press secretary even weighing in.
When a transgender American posts a video about a brand of beer they enjoy, and it leads to bomb threats, it's clear that that level of violence and vitriol against transgender Americans has to stop.
Mulvaney speaking out on the podcast Onward with Rosie O'Donnell.
And the reason that I think I am so, I'm an easy target is because I'm so new to this.
We reached out to the influencer for comment and haven't heard back yet. Nor were we able to contact the 2 executives on leave. The company telling the New York Times amid the controversy it made, quote, adjustments to streamline the structure of our marketing, as one of America's signature brands is caught in the middle of a cultural tug of war over the country's identity.
All right, Sam Brock joins us tonight from Miami. Sam, it's interesting. This is not the first time Anheuser-Busch, right, has gotten into some trouble over messaging when it comes to LGBTQ issues.
Anheuser-Busch, Tom, has straddled both sides of this issue. Seemingly, on one hand, they've been lauded by human rights groups for being an exemplary company supporting the LGBTQ community with ads, Tom, dating back really to the 90s in magazines and television, certainly. On the other side of the equation, they've been criticized as recently as 2021 for donating tens of thousands of dollars to lawmakers on the state level who are pushing anti-LGBTQ agendas. So it's a complicated history. But here's the upshot here. Look at their stock price right now. It's at about $65 a share, which is near its 52-week high, despite this controversy.